The man had been standing there for almost 10 minutes, right in the middle of the crowded airport cafe. Yet not a single person stopped to help him. People brushed past him with rolling suitcases, eyes glued to their screens, hurrying to catch flights or order coffee. And still, he stood quietly, clutching a small notebook in one hand, looking around with a mixture of confusion and calm patience. No one knew who he was. No one cared. And no one realized that the older gentleman in the simple navy coat was one of the wealthiest investors in Japan. But kindness doesn't check bank accounts, and it never asks for anything in return. And as this story reminds us, kindness still matters. Her name was Naomi Brooks, a young waitress who had been working double shifts for months, trying to pay off school loans and help her mom with rent. She was tired, exhausted, honestly, but she'd learned how to hide it behind a warm smile. That morning was just like any other. She moved between tables with a tray balanced on one hand, greeting travelers with a practiced cheerfulness. But something made her pause when she noticed the older man standing near the ordering counter. He wasn't frustrated. He wasn't angry. Just lost. His notebook kept flipping open in the breeze from the airport doors, revealing handwritten lists that didn't seem to be in English. People sidestepped him, muttering about delays, spilling half-formed apologies, but no one slowed down long enough to ask if he needed help. Naomi watched him for a moment and felt that familiar tug in her heart, the one that always whispered, "If that were my grandfather, what would I want someone to do?" She stepped forward gently. "Excuse me, sir. Do you need help?" The man looked startled, then relieved. He opened his notebook and pointed to a sentence written in neat Japanese characters. "Where is gate C18? Naomi recognized it immediately. Her mother was Japanese, and though Naomi wasn't fluent, she'd grown up hearing the language, learning pieces of it, carrying it in her heart like a quiet inheritance. She smiled softly and bowed her head just a little. "Ka, oshui ni shimashou ka?" "Good afternoon. Can I help you?" The man's eyes widened in pure astonishment. Surprised, grateful, almost emotional, he responded in Japanese, slowly, carefully, worried he might overwhelm her. She listened, picking up enough to understand he'd flown in from Tokyo for a connecting flight, but had gotten confused with the airport signs and couldn't find his gate or anyone who understood him. Naomi didn't hesitate. She stepped away from the counter and motioned warmly for him to follow. "I'll walk you there," she said, switching to English but speaking gently. That he nodded, trusting her instantly. As they walked through the bright airport terminal, Naomi talked to him in a soft mix of English and simple Japanese phrases. He told her his name was Mr. Kenji Morimoto and that he rarely traveled alone anymore. His wife had passed away 2 years earlier, and this was his first long trip without her. The airport, no matter how modern, felt overwhelming. She apologized for his loss, her voice quiet but sincere. He smiled in that way people smile when they've been holding grief for too long. When they finally reached gate C18, he turned to her with visible gratitude. Naomi expected nothing more than a thank you. But what happened next was the last thing she ever expected. He gestured toward an empty row of seats and invited her to sit for just a moment. She checked the time. She still had 5 minutes before her break ended, so she nodded politely. Mr. Morimoto opened his notebook again, but this time flipped to a page filled with scribbles, diagrams, numbers, and what looked like sketches of buildings. Naomi blinked. He wasn't just an elderly traveler. And he wasn't lost because he was confused. He was studying. He looked at her thoughtfully and asked, in clear English this time, "Why did you help me when no one else would?" Naomi shrugged softly. "Because you look like you needed someone. That's all." "Most people look," he replied, "but they don't see." There was something deeply knowing in his voice, something that carried weight. Her break ended, and she hurried back to the cafe, waving politely before disappearing into the crowd. She didn't think about it again. Helping him felt small, natural, human. But the next morning, when Naomi arrived at work, the entire cafe was buzzing. Managers whispering, workers pointing, people pacing nervously. And then she saw him, the same older gentleman, standing in the doorway, dressed in the same calm navy coat, holding a small envelope. Her manager rushed toward her. "Naomi, he's looking for you." She approached cautiously. "Mr. Morimoto? Is everything okay?" He bowed deeply, much deeper than before, a gesture of profound respect. "Yesterday," he began. You were the only person who helped me. Not because of who I am, but because of who you are." Her eyebrows knitted together. "Sir, really, it was nothing." But then he handed her the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter in delicate brushstrokes and an invitation, an official, embossed invitation to join a new cultural and language outreach project his company was funding. A program focused on connecting international travelers with bilingual guides and staff. Her name was listed as one of the recommended founding members. She looked up at him, stunned. I don't understand." Mr. Morimoto gave a gentle smile. "I am the chairman of Morimoto Global Holdings. Yesterday, I needed help, and you gave it to me without hesitation. I want people like you, people who see others, to help shape this project. You changed my day. I would like to help change your life." Her breath caught in her throat. Suddenly, her tired shifts, her worries about rent, her pressure to help her mom, everything felt lighter. Not because a billionaire had appeared out of nowhere, but because kindness had echoed back in a way she never saw coming. She felt tears sting her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. I, I just did what anyone should do." He shook his head gently. "No, you did what a good person does. That is very rare today." And in that crowded airport cafe, surrounded by the noise of travelers and coffee machines and boarding calls, Naomi realized something profound. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness isn't small at all. Sometimes it becomes the turning point in someone else's story, and in your OWN.MR. Morimoto bowed again before leaving for his flight, but not without saying one final sentence that stayed with her forever. "In a world that moves too fast, thank you for stopping long enough to care." Naomi watched him disappear into the bright airport hallway, sunlight reflecting off the polished floors, and she felt a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. A reminder that even when life is heavy, kindness can still lift us. And above all, she learned this: